Hi everyone, this is the E-mini Nasdaq. I'm using a 1000 tick chart and a 21 EMA. I've got my overnight high up here and my overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. And starting off, notice that we have this uptrend right here. So I started trading at 8 Central Time around this area here, and we have this uptrend. We get a break and we push up to a new high. Now when an uptrend gets a break and a new high, it's considered played out and you can look for a reversal. Now we rush below the EMA here. This is a good place for a reversal pattern. If it just pushes into a clear failed second entry below the EMA, then we could have gotten a good reversal pattern. But in this case here, it quickly pushes back up above the EMA and it doesn't reverse. It just continues on higher there. Now, if it fails to reverse after the uptrend played out, then likely you're making a second big picture leg up. And so now we're making these two legs up right here. So we have this first leg up, the whole thing, and then including this part right here that has the tiny, where it breaks out a little bit. This whole push up right here is one leg. We get our break and then our first attempt at a new high. So we have, which I'm going to delete this just because I extended that one. So we have uptrend, break, first attempt at a new high, and it makes this double top, but that is enough for it to reverse on down. Now, when we push below here, we hold on this trend line and we have a little reaction. Now, I wouldn't want to take this lower high. We made this swing here, we formed this lower high. I wouldn't want to take it just as it's breaking out of this trend line right here, because we could still make another attempt at a new high for this uptrend. We can get a second leg up like this at a new high. And so considering that we are finding some resistance at this area right here, we could just push up, we tick lower and push up into a new high. I would want to see a clear reversal pattern breaking through this trend line right here. When this swing held, or when this swing formed, that formed this trend line. And so at this point, we would need to break through and make a reversal pattern, after it breaks out of here. And then that's what happens next. Price pushes out, we go into this trend right here, and we get this two-legged break. And so we have a failed second entry right here. We're coming off the overnight high, great place to reverse, a very common place to reverse, and then we form this reversal pattern. These measured legs up right here and then a push lower. Now, unfortunately, it was getting very choppy right here. It's very clear how choppy it was. So I did not want to push target past this low right here. So, this is a limit order trade. And a lot of times when you need to use limit order, you're going to get no filled. So, that's just part of it. So we push on lower here. We find some resistance right at that low. We bounce back up. And now we get this attempt to reverse here. Now, we push up. We find resistance right at that high and then have a very sharp reaction to it. Now, when I see this right here and we get a very sharp reaction to it, now we did make that new low for this downtrend, so downtrend break, we have that new low technically, but it is close enough to where it could be a double bottom depending on how it reacts to it. If it reverses on higher here, then yeah, that would mean downtrend, it worked as it's played out and then reversed. But since it had such a strong bearish reaction right here and did not want to reverse higher, it could be setting up as an even bigger picture failed second entry. So we can see here, after this leg down, we have this break, two legs back. Now again, it did make that new low right there, and so it could very easily reverse here. But since it was so close and then it had a bearish reaction to that high, clearly not wanting to reverse, it could be acting as that failed second entry right there. And so when we push lower right here and then form this, I'm just going to unclutter that, and then we form this lower high right here from here. It's pretty bearish looking. It also holds off this trend line right here. So I really did like this. I had to push it out a little bit from this low, but it had previously pushed out that far before, so I didn't really care. So it looked good, like a nice big picture trade. Right after this, attempted reversal, it really, and it failed to reverse. It really looked good to go short right here because it's continuing the bearish momentum. And so anyway, we push lower here, and then we get this very sharp move down. We push lower, we break out of this, trend line right here. This is an overshoot. So in a downtrend, overshoots are when you break out the lows. And a lot of times when you overshoot, it'll lead to strong breaks because overshoots basically just mean it's oversold. In the case of a downtrend, oversold. And so very commonly you'll get spikes up, pushing to the other side, and then very commonly breaks right after overshoots. But in this case here, it just kept on pushing out, not looking back, so it's basically just forming its own new trend. And so it's just a sharper downtrend now. So we go into this downtrend, and then we get this two-legged break, retesting the overnight high, the overnight low. we break out. When you break out of an overnight level or a range level, you want to see 2 attempts to fade before you buy with the breakout, or short with the breakout here. And so we get these 2 legs up. From here we have first entry long, second entry long failure. Of course, you can get a bigger picture one. It doesn't end up forming one, but clearly you get those 2 legs back with a very strong reaction retesting. And so I liked that right here. I used a limit order because, with a stop, you are pushing it quite far into the lows. And this isn't the biggest picture, failed second entry. Obviously, this first leg is huge, but with these 2 legs, it is smaller. So I wanted to keep the entry a bit smaller. So didn't want to push it all the way out with that stop order. And so we push lower here. We get this first leg down, or it's not the first leg down, but from the break of this downtrend, we have downtrend, break, and then first attempt at a new low. We push up here after 2 legs up here. We push down again, making another leg at a new low. And then we get more above the EMA this time because, after we make this new low here for this downtrend on that first leg, since it's so common to get a second leg, it just didn't quite get as much through it. So after that second leg, we had more of a reversal, but it very quickly pushed lower here. This would have been good for a reversal pattern if it had pushed into one, considering it is played out, but you would want it to get far away from another possible trend line because it is still pretty thin with this push down. And so anyway, it pushes lower here, make this double bottom, price attempts to push higher here. We get above the EMA a little bit. You don't want to enter short right into these lows right here, especially after getting above there. But we push lower here. We kind of had some resistance. It broke out and faded back in. I can show you that here. So anyway, we push on up here. Now again, this is a good area for a reversal pattern. This downtrend has played out. Now you can see you have a leg down, break, and then this is like the second leg down on a bigger picture. Even though it's made up of these, a bunch of legs here, on a bigger picture, it is just one leg. We have these 2 legs down, so this is a great area for a reversal pattern. Now, it doesn't form one, unfortunately. You can see here we have this little uptrend, break, push to a new high, one attempt to reverse before pushing on higher here, and then we form this, as we push up here, it's clear that we're going into this wider uptrend, and it gets a break, push up to a new high. Now, we can look to make a new high, but we just don't get a setup here. We just get this first entry, this 1 leg down that closed below, and then it's just a first entry still. You want to see 2 legs back. So what could have happened was another leg down, like say we push up a little bit and then get like a second leg down from there, and then we could have gotten something down there. But we just push on up, make that new high, and then price reacts off the overnight low and starts pushing lower. Now you can see that it forms a reversal pattern. You can see first entry long, second entry long failure. It's kind of choppy. It's not very easy to see, and it's also not a good reversal pattern. I would want to see a push below with 2 clear legs back. You don't want to be on a good reversal pattern. You're not going to be entering at the very low of the move down. We just had a push down, and then you're entering at the very low of it. That's not a good reversal pattern. So anyway, it doesn't last very long. It pushes down a little bit. We push on up here, make this higher low. Now, considering we just retested the overnight low, this is a major key level. You can, and considering that 2-legged moves are very common, you want to see 2 legs coming off of the overnight low before you buy long, because it's basically just like first entry long and then second entry long. The chances of it pushing lower and making a second leg down off of a retest of an overnight low is very high. Especially when you have a very bearish push below the EMA and then it's struggling to get back above the EMA. Really nothing good looking about going long there. And so we push on up here, we fade back in. Now we're clearly making that second leg up right there. We've faded back in. Now when we fade back in, at first it's a little choppy. We push up, we get this first entry long. Now at this point here, we do have a second entry. You can see first entry long, second entry long, but it is starting to get very sideways there. You can see it's starting to just go into this little range right here. Also considering the chop and the fact that this second leg is not very good compared to that first leg, there's really just no reason to want to enter that. But when we do make this new high here, we get another 2 attempts down, but of course this second leg is not very good. It's just kind of staying within this chop right here. We broke out, faded back in, got a couple legs down with no long entries, unfortunately. So anyway, we push on up here, make this new high, first entry long, push on up again, reach that overnight high, or excuse me, not overnight high. We reach this measured move level. When you make videos, it's very easy to get tongue-tied and mix phrases up and mix up terms and stuff. So anyway, we reach this measured move right here. Price pushes off of it. First entry, of course, you don't want to enter on a first entry, especially coming off of a measured move like this, because it's very common to reverse. And so if you want to enter long after coming off of one, you want to see 2 attempts. That way it'll be basically like a failed reversal because you have the 2 attempts reversing. And so nothing there. We push on up, gets a little bit choppy, and then we have a very sharp move down. What I was kind of wanting it to do was move over a little bit more inside of this uptrend and then get the breaks. That way you can still get 2 legs down but smaller and then get an entry faster, but it just didn't happen. It just pushed on lower here and then got very choppy. Of course, you cannot enter long right there. Even though you're retesting the overnight low and you have a break of this uptrend, it's very, very choppy right there, and it's also right into the EMA. So we push on up here, we get a couple legs up, so this uptrend has a break, a couple legs attempting a new high. But after you push up right here and you make this swing, this is not a very significant break. It's not like a very clear break. It just barely broke out of this uptrend right here. And so when it forms this swing, you can extend the trend line to see how it holds. In this case here, the highs end up starting to fit better. Notice how, when you have it here, it's off these 2 swings there, but then after you drag it off to this swing here, see how it fits. These highs are actually starting to fit very well up here. So a lot of times you can extend the trend lines on those breaks. In this case here, it's still fitting well. And then usually when you have a trend and you get like a small break, it's not like a super significant break. Like obviously, when you have this uptrend right here, there's a very clear break at this point, but when it's just right here, it's a little bit more, it could just be, the channel could just be widening basically, which is very common. And so that's what was happening here. You can see with those highs. And so when we push up here, you can still look for longs to continue with this uptrend right here, but you do have to consider that you just had this push down and price could attempt that. And so anyway, we push on up here after these couple legs. Like I said, we got those couple legs at a new high, but we still extend this couple legs back, 2-second entry long off the key entry point right there. Very choppy, unfortunately. It really just started getting choppy at the end of the day, going into this range and all. Just let me get that back there. So we break out of these lows right here. Now, of course, we've also broken this uptrend. When we push lower here, that's when it's much more clear of a break. And so we can expect price to attempt a new high. Now, we're also at this measured move level right here. We have a very good reaction to it. So we could just push up into a failed second entry. That would be a good long, considering this measured move was met. Very common to get a reversal. We had our reversal attempt. These 2 legs down are our attempt to reverse. As soon as that measured move was met, it's pushing back up, basically holding back in. Even though it broke back out, it basically just held back in on this overnight high. It didn't have a very significant breakout considering, the size of those legs anyway, and it's immediately pushing back in. So, yeah, failed second entry. That's, likely a good setup, or it's likely to set up in this area here soon. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video, and thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.